This summer, Simon Moro, Terry Hart, Knobs, an audio production podcast. Remember to like and subscribe.
I want you to give me a topic related to AI in the music production world that we're going to use to improvise a podcast.
You could dive into the topic of AI-driven collaboration, how musicians and algorithms are co-creating music. It would give you room to explore AI tools that generate melodies, assist in mixing, or even help with lyrics, while discussing how artists can retain their creative voice in this evolving landscape.
That's not actually a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. Okay. So, AI.
AI.
We're going to talk about AI today, and AI in the context of music production. And my voice is tired because I haven't had much sleep, not because I was out like a rock star, but because my son was ill and I barely slept.
See, I just have the dog. I slept like a baby.
Slept like a baby, didn't sleep, cried all night.
No.
Again. And last night, Terry and I were attempting to use AI voice synthesis.
Should we say names? Can we do that? Can we slander?
Well, we're not necessarily slandering.
Okay. We're reviewing.
We're reviewing, and I guess let's talk about it. So we were playing around with the intro voice to just see if we could shift it from Terry's voice to something different. And we tried IK Multimedia's Resing and Sound ID's AI voice. I think, forget what it's called. It might be called Voice AI. And neither of them worked. And I think it was because there was so much vocal fry and it was getting confused and just jumping up and down the octave. And I've had that issue with vocals that have sort of a bit too much of a waver or a break in them. Which are
the best vocals.
It
would freak out on Freddie Mercury and things like that.
Very often the best vocals. So it was completely unusable. But flip side, I did just finish a record where Resing saved it because it meant that in the context of a very expensive record, and I'm like tens of thousands of dollars, we wouldn't have had another $20,000 to spend on backing vocalists.
No.
So I was able to take the lead vocals that were tuned, then the phrases that I wanted harmonies on, shift it to the notes that I wanted with Melodyne, then render that through Resing, and create some pretty great harmonies that didn't sound like the singer.
And you did. I came in and heard them. They were. It was impressive, like what came out. But I didn't mix them. So I had been meaning to ask. Like, there's lots of tricks that we will do on albums where we don't have lots of voices. Let's say I might. I remember I used to have a clock that I could change it by 5% up or down, so I could just slightly change the fundamentals in their voice so that it gets stacked nicely. But those tricks are tricks. They have a bit of a smear to them. It is a bit of a sound, but sometimes you don't want that. Did you feel the AI was the same, or was the separation better?
I want to backpedal before I address that, because you mentioned a trick and clocks.
Yes.
And not everyone might understand what you were doing there, or even have the ability to do it based on the system. Do you want to quickly explain what you're doing?
Sure. Well, it's something that came from we're going on a tangent hard.
Good.
It was something that came from tape days where you could literally vary the speed of the tape. Now, if you slowed audio down, it's going to sound lower. But then you could ask your vocalist to sing a double on the main over it again. He'll naturally or she'll naturally change pitch to suit that. And then when you speed it up, all the fundamentals in their voice are slightly different. So it'll stack and not sound smeared and masked. It'll thicken the vocal. And a lot of classic pop records from the 90s would use this trick where they'd speed the track up, sing it, slow the track down, sing it, and then just have one at the normal. When you stacked all those together, it was really, really thick and gooey. Now, I used to be able to do that with a setup I had with a. Do you remember what the clock was?
Was there a Big Ben or was it the Antelope?
No, it was one of the Antelope ones. I think it was the Antelope Isochrome.
It was the big one, yeah.
But it had a button to change the clocking speed. Well, that is essentially the same thing. So I'd be sitting there doing backing vocals and just running over to that clock and doing plus 5% for one take for a couple of takes, then minus 5% for a couple of takes. And when they stacked, they sounded a lot thicker and nicer. It changes the tuning of the song slightly when they're singing it, but most singers, if you just let them know, they'll just make the adjustment. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
But yes, that was that. And I was worried that AI might have a similar masking effect.
Sure.
Just by, I mean, it obviously takes it and does some sort of impulse response on the voice. And
yeah, I'm not sure what the technology is, because part of me wonders if it's almost like some sort of transcription and then total synthesis
from the ground up.
From the ground up.
Not like a vocoder where it's dumbing it down and then
However, it is locked in, like timing wise, it is locked in. So
yeah.
So I'm not sure what the resynthesis process is. What I found was it does have artifacts that are quite difficult to deal with in the context of a song, particularly in the top end. Like there's a not necessarily a hissiness, but there's a thin or harshness, kind of like, I would say, similar to the harsh glassiness that might come from a cheap microphone into cheap converters versus good converters and a good preamp. And
yeah,
good
it
mic.
does. There's something slightly cheapening about it.
It's a little bit brittle in the top end, and
which is a shame when you're using beautiful pre's and beautiful mics, and then
it is.
They're shooting down there. Yeah.
The better the source material, the better the result.
Yep.
And I would say if you had oohs and ahs, like anything without consonants, it was pretty great. But lots of consonants, you've got all that.
Well, that's another thing. I mean, did you do this process pre or post processing of the actual original vocal? Like a lot of EQing is pulling out noise and rumble and sibilance. Did you flatten it first? Or?
So no, I just took the raw.
We should try that.
We should do that. Yeah, I did use Soothe and other techniques to try and soften that that top end.
What's Soothe?
Soothe is a resonance, like a multi-band, intelligent resonance,
specifically for vocals. Or?
Well, not necessarily. The first version 1, I mean, aimed a lot at anything with harsh high end. Yeah, okay. So cymbals, guitars, vocals. Version 2 expanded into the low frequency, so any kind of resonance build up.
But it's sorted that out. Yeah,
it's good, and you can have very narrow Q or very broad. You can set the range. So I find that as a really good suppressor. But
we would like to thank Smooth, our sponsors.
Yes, we would. We would like some sponsors. I'm turning around and looking up at that Roland Space Echo that I bought. It was one of the things that I bought for this record because I knew that there was going to be a bit of AI in it. And
so some analog gooiness on the other end.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just anything that could kind of forgive. I found that Auburn Spring reverb was another thing that I was putting these vocals into that was just helping it feel a little less like surgical and clinical sterile.
Yeah. But it did end up clinical and sterile.
Well, it did, yeah.
It's always the same thing. And I mean, I do feel that we've been slowly desensitized to that, especially with tune-in being so prevalent in the last decade or two. So our ears have softened up to this weird top end that you're talking about, and adding this to it, we can kind of, we're now just used to a weird phasiness happening up there. But yeah, anything like that, it's gonna help out.
Yeah. So it was a very, very useful tool, and there was another project that I used it on sparsely, and it was, we just wanted a female backing vocals, like this sort of response line. So I just had the singer sing it, and replace them. And I think for that one we used Sound ID's version.
See, it's not perfect, but how amazing is that? Like if you're in the middle, you get a moment of
yeah.
inspiration, you're madly on the phone trying to find the session singer, but no, they've got this or that, and you can just get it going, even if it is a placeholder.
Yeah.
But just keep the inspiration going.
Exactly. And the other thing, and I think, people, everyone wants to know tricks, but tricks come out of a deep understanding of the fundamentals of the physics of sound.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was about to say this other trick I did, but really it was just a particular use of an existing tool in a context. And the context was this, and I think I spoke with you about it. There was one song in this record where we have, it's a duet with a female vocalist, and she was a very good singer, is a very good singer. However, her voice in the context of this song against the other vocal, it sounded really hollow.
Okay.
It sounded really hollow, and I tried EQing it. I couldn't get it to work. It just sounded sort of empty. So I used the AI voices to create doubles that filled in that hollowness.
Oh, like the varispeed trick we were talking about before, trying to get the same thing out. Yeah, okay.
And the varispeed thing is like, it's kind of similar to a formant shifting thing. It's a little, So that's the other thing, is that these, as Terry was saying, these tools, like they can be really awesome, and they'll have like a use case. Would I have preferred female vocalists and other backing vocalists and the time to hire the studio and record? Yes, I would have. But it actually really kind of saved this record. Well, it brought the record up a level.
Yeah.
I think it sounds better than if the vocals were left off.
And that's it. You use the right tool. If you need a hole, get a drill. And it's simple as that.
Yeah.
And but knowing what they can and can't do is half the challenge. And we're kind of in a teething process right now, and they're getting better every day. And I've found them just crazily useful for stems. There just wasn't an option to get stems out of a mix. I mean, how would you do that? Like, have you ever tried to make a karaoke from a full mix before and trying to get the vocal out, and how much detail you have to go into and how much you have to try, and it's just one button now?
It's very difficult, and you're still left with the reverb.
And you're left with the reverb, and backing vocals and whatever else.
Yeah. That again is fantastic. And while I haven't yet come across a stem extractor where I listen to it and it's as good as if you and I bounce the stem out from the mix.
No.
But from a perspective of learning a part, or let's say you've got a loop and you just want to extract the drums from it to then reprogram, really, really helpful.
Yeah. But sometimes you do get weird projects, old things that wanted a bit more vocal, or we want to redo the vocals, and if that's the only choice you've got, it's a pretty good choice. Yeah. Well,
in fact, last week, a record I did a little while ago for an artist, he decided he wanted to remix it and remove the reverb from the vocal and make it drier and closer. However, this recording, we tracked vocals and guitar live because it was just supposed to be this sort of very organic voice. And we just did figure of eight with the vocal mic, figure of eight with the guitar mic.
Which is good, but not perfect.
No, and with a ribbon mic in figure of eight, it's excellent.
Excellent, yeah.
Which we use for the acoustic guitar, but I used the 87 for the vocal.
Yeah.
And the condenser in figure of eight is not as deaf on the side.
No.
So I had this issue where he was saying, I want the vocal louder. I was turning that up. And of course, it's bringing up the guitar, and then we're losing the stereo mics on the guitar. So the mix is it's getting more narrow, and we're getting the pointier guitar sound because it's sort of got a vocal EQ on it.
Yeah.
And I said, we're sort of at the point where I can't get the vocal louder because it's the spill. Like what you're hearing is the spill.
Yeah.
So then I used RX's separator to separate the vocal. On its own, you could hear the artifacts, but blended with the original track with the guitar spill,
you get the level you want.
It worked fine.
And this is the nice thing. You'd use the original for your top end, cap that thing off with high and low pass filters, and just put it in as the meat and bones, you know, which are, classic mix technique. Distort up a vocal in parallel and get it in there. But it would be perfect for something like that, just making it cut through, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So that worked well.
And phase accurate with the two?
Well, I actually tried out a new plugin. No sponsors. I bought it with my own pocket money. And it's by Soundradix, and it's Pi.
Okay.
So I've got Auto Align that I use often. Are you familiar with that one?
Yes. Yeah.
So with Pi, I believe it's an intelligent phase rotation plugin that works in real time. So the idea is that you might have your kick and your bass, and it might be rotating the phase of one or the other to be in phase with each other, and you can use it across a whole mix and groups. So I tried it out. I just thought, well, let me just try it out. The phase alignment was it wasn't actually showing any shifting, so I think it was pretty good.
Yeah. And I wasn't sure that phase was the right word. It sounds like it, but it's probably not. There's no reason why a process like that should phase shift something, but yeah, you definitely get that vibe, don't you? A little bit of smearing up the top.
Have you used any other audio AI tools?
I'm pretty late to the party. I've been experimenting with it, but I've been doing a lot of blues records recently. It is impressive on the songwriting front. Is the other threat to our livelihoods right now is what Suno can do. But we did have a long discussion about that, about how useful it is to get the ball rolling. A lot of the hurdle to starting an album for a lot of singer-songwriters is just demoing the song. They might not have a clear idea in mind about how they want it to sound. And I could sit in the studio all day, bang out some a drum line, bass, guitar, get an idea of what it's like, and they might listen to it and say, no, that's just not really where I was seeing it going, and you've lost a day. But the idea you can hit something like Suno and smash out 10 different versions of it and give them some options, and they can immediately say, I like this about this about this, and you can have a game plan up and running in 10 minutes, real time if you wanted to. And then start to think about actually arranging, get some musicians in. It's tough. Like, we've been doing this for years, and still sometimes you'll get a song that you can't visualize really where it's going. You really have to think about it and experiment with it. Expecting an artist, when it might be their first song as well, to be able to do that is a big ask. So providing them that, like an almost finished sounding product to inspire them, is a huge plus. And again, 3 years ago, just science fiction. Yeah.
I found Suno to be, I have mixed feelings about it. I have mixed feelings because it has already taken work away from a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because personally, I have used it for that exact thing. I have used it to do the demo mock-ups, and it pains me to say it, it did a better job than people I was paying to do it.
It's tough. Like, if it was easy to record a song, everyone would do it. But to actually get it to even a remotely in the vicinity of a finished product, it just doesn't happen quickly. So the fact you can get it there, it would definitely take a lot of work away. Yeah.
So, but at the same time, kind of better results. Like, I'll often outsource things that require compositional fixes and the demoing stages, just because for me to bill what my normal day rate would be, I think it's too expensive for that kind of part of the process.
Yeah.
And also because I've focused my skills in the mixing, in the production, in terms of like your old school production, pulling a project together, briefing musicians, coaching performances, like that, I'm slower than like, can I mock up a demo with all of the instruments? Yes, I can, but I'm not as fast as someone that spent the last 20 years playing the piano and playing guitar, and they're focused on composition and arranging.
You've got to pick your poison at some point.
Exactly. Yeah. So for someone like me, it's amazing because as a producer, it's my responsibility to hit the artist's vision. So I've got the brief from them, then I can prompt Suno with just a guide vocal and a guide guitar or piano, and I can prompt it to get the mock-up and and then I can, fuse versions together and bring it back into Pro Tools and fix the form, because it's still going to hallucinate stuff, just like an AI generated image will hallucinate an extra finger.
Yeah.
Suno hallucinates chords that don't exist. Well, I mean, they exist. We don't agree that they're acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like Miles Davis used to say, it's not a wrong note. You just don't understand it yet. It might be like in a whole nother stratosphere for music theory, which we haven't even comprehended yet.
Correct.
I doubt it, but
so it's great for that, because as you mentioned, we can then present to the artist, are you happy with this direction?
Yeah.
And then when we bring in session players, there are really strong ideas to springboard from.
Yeah.
It's still nowhere near as good as when you get the microphones on the instruments.
No, even if you did it note for note.
Yeah,
because half the time it's a great idea, but it needs
Yeah.
work. But even if you did it note for note, it's just night and day. And it was fun. I remember listening to some of the mixes that came out and how it's approximating what happens, because it hasn't studied the mix process. Because let's be honest, it's a bit of a black art. But it like, okay, what we were talking about before, we were talking about distorting vocals for your acoustic singer-songwriter. So it sort of does that, but it does it to the whole vocal. So all the S's get this like smear over it, whereas we'd be doing that parallel. We have a perfect, clear, nicely recorded hi-fi S. Underneath that, there's a bit of distortion.
Yeah.
The way that hits the reverb would be different. The way it hits delays would be slightly different. It would all be EQ'd. It's just approximating it as a whole thing, and it sounds like it. It is entertaining to hear what it thinks is happening, and being able to hear that that's just not it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that's potentially challenging for people that are using Suno as the platform to begin the production is because it is generating an approximation of a finished mastered record or song.
Yeah.
When you go day one in the studio, you're taking a leap forward in fidelity, but a significant leap backward in overall sound.
Yeah, it's not
because
not even going to be close, is it?
You're hearing the raw kick drum versus the parallel compressed, sample blended, slammed kick drum in the Suno thing.
And in certain cases, it would be better day one, especially if you're in a large format studio and you might be monitoring through an SSL or something like that. It's going to sound amazing if you're doing a blues record, but if you're doing anything remotely pop that needs a lot of production, it's going to be a long step backwards. Yeah.
So producers using it with artists, certainly what I do is I give the artist that expectation. And I'll actually, even before Suno, and when we did fleshed out demos, and I would say like on the session where we're tracking drums and bass, I would say it's going to sound empty right now.
Yeah.
Because we've got an orchestra coming next week. We've got piano tomorrow afternoon. We've got vocals in. And you and I, Terry, with the experience, we know that that's how it's meant to sound. There's the room for those other things.
But they might be disheartened.
And can actually feel nervous, because they're potentially spending thousands of dollars.
You don't want any of that in a studio. Like, try getting a great vocal performance when someone's nervous or has lost faith in the project. It's just a waste of time. Yeah,
exactly. So I think that just setting the expectation that, hey, just so you know, production-wise, it's going to feel like we've taken a bit of a step back because we're going back to tracking, and we're going to get it back to where, back and then past where Suno got it.
And that, look, we can do that quite confidently, but I do worry about there's a new generation of audio engineers coming up. Now, I know that I can hear what Suno puts out now and go, that's impressive, needs work, and I'm confident to get it past there. However, like a couple of years into my career, I would have struggled. And I think students today, if they are working with musicians and the musician listens to Suno or what they'd be able to deliver, well, they're just not going to get a look in.
No.
Because you were probably the same as me. You started off this by recording in your bedroom, someone with an acoustic guitar and singing, and you whacked a reverb on and called it a day, and it sounded terrible, but you got a job and you got experience out of it. That's going to be difficult to do.
Yeah, and it's a good point too, because I'm outspoken about this particular subject, which is I believe that there is a significant difference between the prosumer equipment and the high-end equipment and the commercial spaces.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there are many YouTube videos and TikTokers and ad campaigns saying that there is no difference.
Yeah.
There 100% is. Otherwise, I would sell all of this equipment and have a $200 setup and do the same work. I can't.
No.
And I don't think it's just because of my ability. So what this means is, as you said, people will listen to this output from Suno that's been trained on hit songs the world over, decades over, that has the sound of commercial studios.
Yeah.
And without even putting much thought into the position, you put a good microphone through a good preamp in front of a great player in a great room, it sounds better than anything that I'd spent hours on that I'd recorded in my bedroom 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing. And when you hire a studio, you hire an acoustic space, and that can be such a huge part of sound, like how the bottom end blooms, how an acoustic instrument starts to feed on itself just from the acoustics in the room. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, so that's going to be a challenge for those who haven't had the experience, and just for the fact that big facilities are closing, the access to them is less available.
So mentorship's almost out the window now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, as I've commented on this on TikTok, I have had people sort of tell me that I'm completely wrong, and then they'll point to some dance track that's fully instrumental. And I would say, look, you could there's an argument to say if it's all programmed synthesizers, there's not going to be as big a difference. I would say that it could still benefit potentially from an analog mix, or certainly for some analog inserts.
Yeah.
But I would say, yeah, sure. If you're just doing EDM, instrumental EDM, maybe with some vocal loops, you don't need to hire a big studio. And then people will point to artists like Billie Eilish and say, well, that was recorded in a bedroom.
Yeah.
And I think that what's important to understand there is that while it's true that first record, that breakout record was recorded in a bedroom, two things are true. One is the instruments, most of them were programmed, so the acoustic space didn't matter, and it was genre specific. And secondly, when it comes to the vocals, if you are barely whispering into a microphone or singing very quietly,
acoustics don't matter.
You are not exciting the room.
Yeah.
And you can do it. So what I would challenge is if someone can make an indie rock record in that same bedroom that Billie Eilish made that record, or make an operatic record in that same bedroom, it's not going to work.
Yeah, yeah. I think people get confused about that a bit as well. Like, Billie Eilish writes great songs. She recorded them. They're still great songs. Now, they could have been better. Perhaps doing them with real instruments and emotive performances would have improved them. Possibly not. But in a lot of cases, they do. You mentioned EDM. There's not a single time that I haven't got some sort of dance track or EDM track that I'm not craving a little bit more live. That doesn't mean it couldn't have been a very popular song without it, but it is better. I take a lead synth and I'll put it through a guitar amp in a room with microphones in front of it. Suddenly it's not one-dimensional. Suddenly it moves, it breathes, it's got life, it's taking up all this space in a good way, whereas before it was just this flat thing. And there is not a single person that would not be able to hear that. This is not like an audiophile thing. It sounds more exciting. It sounds more real. Yes, you don't have to do it, and yes, you could have just done it in a bedroom, but there is something being offered in here, and that's part of peeling away what studios do. Queen still would have been Queen if they didn't go into a good studio and record their stuff.
Yeah.
It just helped bring the most out of it, bring the best out of it, and allowed them to be creative and allowed them to do anything they need to do to push it over the line. And that's what they exist for.
Yeah. It's a good point about the running things through amps, or just the ability to, it's effectively sound design.
Yeah.
And if I think about great records, every sound is so intentional.
Yeah.
Like you listen to old Michael Jackson records, listen to the snare, listen to the kick, and on each song there's a slightly different take.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not just one microphone in one spot, same sound the whole way through. And like if
it's a vision, it's sound design, it's and it's inspiration, just like following those leads when they occur to you in the studio.
Yeah, which you can do with plugins.
Yeah.
But again, it's different if you run like the Space Echo, the hardware one, 2 hands on that, it's going to be different to one mouse pulling sound. So, So I guess bringing it back to AI, where are you currently sitting with your AI opinion?
I love it. I mean, I use it for other things in my life, definitely. But for music, I often feel that anything that sucks even a little bit of emotion out of it is working against me. So I've used it very, very sparingly. I do think it's amazing for noise reduction, and still, I still feel like things just feel a little bit flatter and fall a little bit flatter. And anytime I grab an EQ or put a mic up, I'm looking for the opposite of flatter. So I will always reach for it if it's going to be the most convenient thing, but I won't reach for it by habit, at least not yet. But I'm sure things are going to change pretty quickly on that front.
What I'm feeling about it is when it's integrated into tools like Clarity that we were using on this podcast to remove
how great's that?
noise.
One knob and it's done.
Right. Also, I believe that Waves Curves Equator and Curves AQ, I think are AI enhanced dynamic equalizers, like program responsive. And I think that's really clever. So using machine learning to create tools to do things that would take us a lot longer to do or would be impossible for us to do.
I have been thinking about that one. Like there's a bit out at the moment looking at that, like dynamically changing EQ using AI and trying to fit some sort of envelope or scene. And I wonder how much it works against, like you and I put a lot of effort into making sure a verse is a verse and a chorus is a chorus. I don't want it to then put the bottom end back into the verse that I left out so the chorus hits harder things like that. I mean, I understand putting on just a vocal, but a lot of those are actually, they're being sold to smack it on top of your mix bus and you're going to have this huge mix. And I guarantee if you put it on, it will sound larger, but then focus in. Listen to the verse going into the chorus. Does that bloom happen that we've worked so hard for? I actually wonder how much it would work against us in that situation.
Yeah. I haven't used it in that context. I've used it on these dynamic resonance controllers.
Yeah.
I've used them on buses and individual instruments, mainly because, as your notes change, your resonance is changing and it's interacting differently with the room. So it's just I find less artifacts with that versus a dynamic EQ with me sort of going in the ballpark of where those frequencies are.
Trying to figure it out,
Because I can look at a spectrum analyzer and see what's sort of in here and there, but it's great to actually have it moving with the notes. On a whole mix, that's a really good point. And I know that you can shift them to be less dynamic and more static.
Yeah,
but that's really interesting to think about using it like that.
And it does move through. I mean, you had a really personal performance on an acoustic guitar. Well, that instrument changes. The harder you hit it, the more it excites the body, the more bottom end you get, and the more presence. If you come back, it becomes brighter, but it cuts through more. If it leveled that out, I wonder how much of what we interpret as an emotional performance would die down, because it's so easy to get stuck in this to putting it on and go, oh, that's so much more in your face. And you could be completely losing everything that's magic about it.
True.
Volume is the ultimate aphrodisiac in this place. Yeah.
Yeah. And as we know with automation, it's volume. I'm very much into exploring machine learning and AI in the context of tools.
Yeah.
On the creative side, I have a personal benefit, and I think the songs can benefit from it.
Yeah.
In terms of the actual output, I'm not loving it. I'm amazed by it. Like it's
incredible.
I don't believe that it exists. That's how impressive it is. But I am interested to try a couple of new features that Suno just announced.
Okay.
One of them is you can train your own model. So you could upload your back catalog and it can generate in your style, and you can also have it sing in your voice.
Yeah, wow.
So with the voice thing, you do have to read a random phrase, but I'm interested to maybe try this out with a client.
Yeah.
I'd need to get them to record the phrase so I can, get that.
And when you say demos, would it have to be productions or could it just be iPhone demos?
Well, anything. Yeah, an iPhone
It's
demo.
happy
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you could, once it's trained the model, so if you uploaded your album and then you put some lyrics in there and just prompted the song you wanted, in theory, it's going to output something that sounds very much like your record.
Yeah. I quite enjoyed the process with how Suno works, that you can't mention other artists.
Yeah.
And it comes back to a conversation that we have so often with clients, which is complicated. You can't say to a client, "I want you to sound like Sabrina Carpenter." Like they won't like that.
Yeah.
They want to be unique, and they should want to be unique. But then finding the words to describe exactly what they want is complicated.
Yeah.
And we have to do it legally with a prompt now. So
Yeah.
it still hasn't made that much easier.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. I'm curious to see how that goes. And I guess the only thing I would say is that I feel like my brain has got to a saturation point of AI where probably a few months ago, if an ad comes up on social media and I hear that AI voice, I just skip it immediately. And I wonder if I'm alone in that or if other people are looking at
There's definitely fatigue.
Yeah.
The word AI slop is 5 minutes from being in the dictionary at this point.
Yeah.
And you get used to it. And I think that's going to happen across the board. So, however creative Suno is, it will do a specific thing like all algorithms do. And at some point we're going to be craving the other thing.
Yeah.
So who's going to do that?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way with blood, sweat and tears.
Yeah, that's it. And I think, if Suno, I presume they're not profitable yet.
Yeah, I wonder about that.
And because it's kind of a complicated business model, because are they going after consumers or are they going after professionals? Because if you're going after consumers, it's something where I would imagine that the churn rate is high.
Yes.
Because once you've spent a weekend making your own songs, you're sort of bored. Like, okay, that was cool. That was a fun trick.
Yeah.
And I know this because the first time I got into Suno, I was literally making songs with my 4-year-old son, and we were having a great time. And then I got bored.
Yeah.
So I think consumers will get bored quickly, and you're going to have to keep finding consumers that haven't done it before.
It's instantaneous. It's easy. It's not going to be very satisfying.
Yeah. And then if you're looking at professionals, then what's just a sort of they're two very different markets. Like one is almost trying to put the other out of business.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling like the sooner it becomes in the background, like it's almost not even part of the conversation. It's just like, I'm going to use some native instrument strings. I'm going to quickly use Suno for this thing.
Yes.
And it just becomes a part of the process, but not a feature of it.
Yeah.
And people just come back to being experts on their instrument, experts at songcraft. I think that's when everything just gets better again.
Yeah, exactly. Because you didn't writing a song as a gimmick is not what great artists do. They write a song because it moves them and it's very, very deep, emotional, and to their core. And you can't prompt that.
Exactly. And maybe to sort of tie a bow on it, it's like you're 80 years old, and do you remember that time you sat down at your laptop and typed a prompt? Or do you remember that time that you started writing this song because you were still awake at 11 o'clock at night and just this feeling came to you and you started writing and you captured the voice memo, then you got into the studio and then you started collaborating, and then you arrived at that day one of recording, and the session players come in and you just had this amazing time crafting this together with a team of people.
Yeah.
Like that's an exciting memory.
And I do believe that energy makes it into the end recording. The more
100%.
fun dynamic the studio is, the better the recording is. It's
100%. So yeah, I hope that it sort of falls into the toolbox, becomes a really helpful device for unlocking creativity, and that it reminds us how important the human interaction is.
Can we try to make my voice sound like Morgan Freeman for this podcast?
Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Remember to like and subscribe.